Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Because of you, the security of this entire universe is in jeopardy.
What? What are you talking about?
Right now, poised at the edge of the galaxy, Emperor Zurg has been secretly building a weapon with the destructive capacity to annihilate an entire planet. I alone have information that reveals this weapon's only weakness. And you, my friend, are responsible for delaying my rendezvous with Star Command. You are a toy!
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show for the 27th of July 2015. It's already that far into the year. Quite crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed.
It's unbelievable how much we're going through and how much is going through on this week's show. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Stuart, who you can finally understand this week, because last week I had the remnants of a cold and then it hit me really hard during the week.
Yeah, a bit of fortunate timing for us, unfortunate timing for following the nerd, but...
yeah, so unfortunate for following the nerd. I got a message from Mark on Saturday saying, Stuart, by the way, I'm sorry, your vocals were so bad nobody could understand you and it wasn't audible in the podcast. In other words, we cut you out because you just sounded really terrible.
I didn't hear it myself. I need to go. I'm actually tempted to go back now and hear it, but if he's cut them out, there's no point.
Yeah,
I'm asking for like a director's cut of the podcast.
I don't record it myself. I think from now on I should sort of like just set up a little recording of the part that I do. It sounds slightly boastful, that, or just me getting the big head there. But just in case something like this happens in the future, and all you could hear is like a mouse sneezing through a microphone, because that's how much what I sounded like.
Okay, on with the show this evening. If you are listening to us live on Spreaker, you can, as always, join us in bottom right hand corner of your screen. There's a little yellow chat icon there. You can message us through the show, you can give us feedback, you can let us know your comments on the films, which Stuart will go through in a minute, what's coming up on the show. You can always find us as usual, get out of the way, the mondaymovieshow.co.uk, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, and at Monday Movie Show to find us, different ways and hows. And I guess if you're listening to us otherwise, that means you found us, other than listening to Spreaker, you found us on one of the many other places where we are. Basically, if it's iTunes, we're on everywhere through iTunes and YouTube and such, so blah, out of the way. But as stated, what's coming up on this week's show, Stuart?
Is that a new format? Is it the blah format?
It's the blah format. Blah out, that's it, done.
Yeah, people should be glad that we're not on things like Periscope, like video in it while we're doing the show. That would just be weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, on this week's show, Disney and Pixar go very meta with their latest animated adventure with Inside Out. Jake Gyllenhaal beefs up majorly for boxing drama Southpaw. Arnold Schwarzenegger shows us a different side to him in drama with hints of horror, also starring Abigail Breslin in Maggie. And Robery Carlyle gives us his directorial debut with The Legend of Barney Thompson.
Yep, as well as usual, first off we'll be having some news, UK box office top 10, and then in the DVD and Blu Ray home release section we'll go through these movies.
Juliette Binoche stars alongside Kristen Stewart in drama Clouds of Sils Maria. We have, now I would have said action thriller, but it's not a thriller. It doesn't contain very much action, but it supposedly is an action thriller with Wild Card. Very, very strange, quirky, dark comedy thriller with Miss Meadows. Hyper over the top stylized action with Seventh Son. Iranian vampire movie A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Comedy drama with While We're Young. And to round things out, video game adaptation Dead Rising Watchtower.
Yeah, and then we'll give you as well a look at our selections of TV movies of the week and the selection of the week's movies, which is our best and which is our favourites.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we've probably got one of the same TV movies of the week.
Quite possibly, though I actually have a few this week.
I have two, but one of them is probably exactly the same.
Okay, moving on though. First off, let's go on to some movie news. A few items that I've got here. First of all, that actress Rachel McAdams has commented on the rumours that she may have been offered a role in Doctor Strange, Marvel's upcoming next new character to be introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The website Den of Geek had a conversation with the actress, during which she didn't confirm anything, but it's basically the first time that anyone has mentioned anything. Marvel has never confirmed or denied whether or not she's been offered anything. After Benedict Cumberbatch has been confirmed, Tilda Swinton's been confirmed, and Chiwetel Ejiofor's been confirmed. She was approached, as to rumours suggesting that she's been approached her second role, because she's apparently offered the role of Pepper Potts back in the first Iron Man film, but turned it down because she didn't find the role that she could connect with. But has said, I don't have much to say about it right now. There's not really anything to comment on, but if there is, I'll let you know. So it's not anything sort of confirmation, nothing concrete, but it's the fact that there's been replies to it. There's been nothing saying definitely nothing, but it's been left, if there's anything to mention, we'll say. I think she's been offered something. I think it's possibly, if something works out. Because the other thing as well, we know that actress Jessica Chastain was offered roles or in talks apparently for Ant-Man, which she was not able to take because she was busy with other roles. So I mean, there's possibility that maybe if Marvel still wants her for something, they may get her in for something in Doctor Strange as well. So I mean, maybe we're having a situation where those two actresses are being weighed up and played against each other as to which one possibly we'll hear.
I'm starting to like the sound of Doctor Strange more and more. Because just if you look at the three ones who were supposedly definitely in it, Benedict Cumberbatch, Tilda Swinton, Chiwetel Ejiofor, that's three heavyweights when it comes to acting, and not just heavyweights because we're used to seeing them in action films or anything like that. They're heavyweights when it comes to acting. They are fantastic actors. Tilda Swinton, I've always loved her. I think she's got a very strange, weird look. Chiwetel Ejiofor, ever since I saw him in the spin-off from Firefly, Serenity. He was fantastic in that as a sort of like a bad guy, but he had malevolence to him. And we know what Benedict Cumberbatch is like. He's a chameleon actor, and just because the fact that it's directed by Scott Derrickson as well, it's directed by a horror director. Mm-hmm. So Doctor Strange might be the first superhero movie that I'll be eager to see, and I'm hoping it will be the first Marvel film in a very long time to break the stupid mold that Marvel have regarding their bad guys. Their bad guys. It's always been flat and one-dimensional, and they need to do something with it. If you look at George R.R. Martin, the creator of Game of Thrones, he's came out and said that the bad guys in the Marvel Universe need to change because they are completely flat. And I completely agree with him.
I've heard that as well, said a lot about Ant-Man and about the villain in that film, which I can understand and I agree with slightly. But the thing is that's interesting is the fact having Chiwetel Ejiofor, I hope that they've got him in because the fact, I mean, he's a fantastic actor. As you said, in Firefly spin-off, in Serenity, he's absolutely brilliant. But also, of course, 12 Years a Slave. I mean, he is a powerhouse actor. And I don't think he would sign on to it, given his performance, given his kind of status in Hollywood now in films, unless there was a meaty performance there, for a meaty role for him to get into. And the thing as well, I was saying about Scott Derrickson as well, even as though I don't like horror films, I have seen Deliver Us from Evil, which is the film that he did. And as much as that film wasn't a great horror film, it did have a fantastic sequence which was really well put together, really well edited, really well shot and done. That was the kind of the exorcism scene. I found it to be really... I don't know, have you seen Deliver Us from Evil?
Yeah, I reviewed it.
Yeah. And what were your opinions on that scene, on the exorcism scene? I thought it was really well done.
It's really well done. It's very overblown, very over the top, very loud. It's one of the loudest exorcism scenes I've ever seen in a horror film. So, but also, if you look at the three main actors again, they are known for playing both good and bad guys. They've played both, and they play both brilliantly. Again, looking at Chiwetel Ejiofor, Serenity and 12 Years a Slave. Benedict Cumberbatch, his performance was completely cheesy in Star Trek Into Darkness, but you've seen what he's like in The Imitation Game or playing as Sherlock Holmes. And Tilda Swinton, again, she's got that look to her where she can go between playing somebody evil and going between playing somebody nice. So... They've got three fantastic choices there. Rachel McAdams might be the light side of that lot. She might be the dark horse out of the 4 if she is rumoured to be in or having a role in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So I'm eager to see it now.
And of course, it sets up potential for further appearances if they are successful setups of characters too. So,
and
we'll
if
be
that's
seeing them in the films, in the further films, a lot more.
And if that's the case, 2016 is going to be the year of the dark superhero movies, because each one of the DC have got their slate with Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman, and now you've got Doctor Strange as well. So it might be the year of like dark superhero movies. So like when we had that year where we had like 3 horror themed animated films. That's what 2016 is. It might be like.
Moving on though, according to a Twitter account named Exhibitor Relations, which is at ERC Box Office, it's a website. It's a account that's linked to the sort of box office stats and reports. There's been an announcement from them, so whether or not this is accurate or not, we don't know. But they've stated that the tweet actually reads: "We all knew this was coming. Universal's Jurassic World sequel will drop June 22nd, 2018. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard will return." So it means if that's true, it means that Universal are giving themselves plenty of time, almost 3 years, to get a sequel written, put together, produced, done, filmed, all the special effects and everything, and get it out. Which sounds, it sounds a bit unbelievable that a big studio would do that, but when you think about it, Universal is the studio which is currently probably the best one that has franchises. They have the Fast and the Furious series. They also have... what else was there this year? They had another one. I'm trying to think what it was now. I forgot what it was. Another franchise they had this year. So Universal basically is the franchise studio of the moment. They know what they're doing. They have things... as much as Marvel have kind of coined it with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all their films... Universal's good at doing it, and they're all separate ones that aren't connected, and they're all doing successful. They're doing really good at the box office. So I think, this is good news that first of all they're doing a sequel that everyone wants, but second of all they're going to take their time.
They're the one, by the way, is Minions. They're the ones who've done the Minions film, who's Despicable Me. So they've got that.
Something else. I need to have a look and see what it is, but there was another one. I think I'm going to have to try and figure out what it was.
But yeah, well, regarding box office wise, Universal is the only studio to have 3 films that went straight into number 1. They're the only studio to have films at number 1, 2, and 3 at the box office as well. And Minions has just gone past the $500 million mark. They've got 2 films that's gone past the $1 billion mark at the worldwide box office as well. So just to add a little bit onto the Jurassic World news story, Colin Trevorrow has turned around and said he will not direct the film, the sequel. However, he will write it. So he's on board writing it. He will not direct it. So they'll have to get somebody else to direct the sequel. And my guess is there will be a lot of directors lined up for this, considering how well Jurassic World has done. It's now the 3rd highest grossing film of all time. A lot of directors will be going, yeah, I'll do it. I'll take it on board if that's the case, if it's going to elevate my status higher than what it is. So
the other one I was thinking of was the Bourne films, because they are making another Bourne film. There's not been a lot of details of it, but it's definitely supposed to be happening.
Yeah, but if you look at this year, it is Minions, Fast and Furious, and Jurassic World, which has been their biggest stuff this year for Universal. So
yeah.
And unfortunately, Sony are the opposite. They have been having so many problems. If you look at Pixels, it's bombed at the US box office. And so their only big hope this year is Spectre.
Yep. Pixels, of course, doesn't come out here until the middle of August, though I am seeing it tomorrow evening. So I may see if I can get a written review up on the site with the first one.
From what I've been reading, it's not very good.
Final piece of news that I've got, because I did actually skip over one, I meant to do this one first though, is regarding the Star Trek Beyond movie, the 3rd Star Trek film. The bit of casting news, there's an actor from Fast and Furious 6 has been cast, John Taslim, who was one of the villains in the 6th movie, the last one to be directed by Justin Lin, who has taken over directing on Star Trek Beyond, will play a henchman villain of the main villain played by Idris Elba. The movie is still set for a July 8th, 2016 release, so presumably they're going to be starting filming soon to get all this all sorted out, filmed, edited, special effects and everything, whatever, in time to get it out in a year's time.
Yeah, I wonder what villain Idris Elba's going to play. I hope they don't go. I hope Lynn doesn't just go. By the way, he's a Klingon. I really hope he doesn't do something like that. I want to see either an enemy that we've never seen before in the Star Trek universe, or a bad guy who we haven't seen for a very long time. You just imagine Idris Elba playing a treble, a big, huge, massive treble.
I just hope it's going to be something. Honestly, I want them to do something new. Don't go over.
That's what I want. Something new.
I don't want them rehashing things like they did with Star Trek Into Darkness, because that really, when it got to that point and the villain was revealed as to who he was, you could just feel the whole audience in the cinema just go, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, because the whole point of rebooting the series again was to go into a different tact. Yeah, we had the Spock thing, but that was sort of like the tiny little bit homage to the Star Trek universe. And so the whole point is you get a whole new fresh crew. It's a younger crew, so we want to see something different. And I'm hoping that Justin Lin is the person who brings us that something different. He is an actor. He's a director who can do that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
My news is Universal piece of news here. Universal have announced that they have approached Russell Crowe to star in Kong Skull Island. If the actor joins the movie, then he'll replace J.K. Simmons and Michael Keaton, who have both left the project.
Wasn't there also at some point someone somewhere said something about Sam Neill possibly being in that?
Maybe.
I think there was something, or he'd stepped away from it or something. Or no, it was Michael Keaton they were considering. Michael Keaton they were considering after Birdman, but I don't think he was interested.
Well, Keaton's dropped out. He was going to be a part of the cast, but he's dropped out alongside J.K. Simmons. So they're no longer going to be in the film itself, which is, again, it's a reboot of the King Kong series. So this is not even due out until late 2017 at the earliest anyway. Probably around about the same time as Pacific Rim 2 gets released. So 2 huge, massive kaiju movies. I'm excited now.
It happens every year. You get 2 films that are the same thing done by 2 different studios, and it just works out. I might actually write something up on it because it's just interesting how often it happens.
And it's normally Universal versus Warner Brothers.
I'm trying to think, who is it? Who did? No, it's Universal or Warner Brothers or Fox normally. I mean, you're talking about things like the year of the volcano ones. It was Dante's Peak, which was Universal, I think. Was it Universal or was it? It might have been Sony. And then the other one was Volcano, which was 20th Century Fox.
Yeah,
so
I think
Fox 2000 as it was then.
I think those 3 need to just battle against each other and have the ultimate tete-a-tete. One do a Godzilla, one do Kong, and the other one do Pacific Rim 2 or something like that, and then just see which one wins.
They should do a Kong Pacific Rim crossover.
No. 2 small pieces of news. Chloe Grace Moretz has joined the cast of Neighbours 2, not the sequel to the TV programme, alongside Zac Efron, Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne.
Was that going to be the sequel into the film, which had a great setup and then was just awful?
Yeah,
it had a couple good laughs though.
Neighbours 2 is now going to be retitled Home and Away.
It did have some good laughs, but the problem is, as usual, they're shown in the trailer.
Yep, and final piece of news. I don't even know why this is news. This is the ridiculous piece of the week, but Sony, who are the studio of the moment, yeah, really they are, have announced they are making an emoji movie. Now, if people don't know what emojis are, they are emotes. So those smiley faces, winky things, stuff like that. They are making a movie on them.
That's my response to that, frowny face.
No, mine is quizzical face. I don't know what that is. What keypads you have to press for quizzical face, but it's just.
Isn't it a question mark and isn't it a question mark in parentheses?
It's just a what? And how do you make what? How do you make that into a film?
I have no idea. Okay, moving on. Box office top 10. Let's go through this quickly because we've got a few here that are kind of. We'll skip over quickly, but number 10 is Amy.
Amy, Asif Kapady's film. I'm desperate to see this movie. I've not had enough time over the last couple of weeks, whether it be illness or work dragging me down or anything like that, but I'm desperate to see this film because Asif Kapady's Senate is fantastic. And so if you can do that for Formula 1, what he could do for music, and especially for an artist who I didn't care that much for. I wasn't the kind of person who took the mickey out of her, because when somebody gets dragged down by drugs and alcohol, it's a really horrible spiral that they'll fall into. A lot of actors and singers have fell into that trap, and unfortunately you look at Whitney Houston's daughter. She's just passed away yesterday. She had major problems with drugs and alcohol, and she was found hung in her hotel room. She was took to hospital, put into a coma, and she just passed away yesterday. And that kind of thing can happen to people who get addicted to that kind of thing. And if a director like Carlyle can put so much heart into a documentary about Formula One regarding Ayrton Senna, then I'm eager to see what he can do with Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, it does one that actually does look interesting. Whether or not I'm going to get a chance as well because of time is going to be the thing. And it's good that it's getting a bit of business, but because it's only just at 10, I wonder how much longer it's going to have a.
It's been out for a few weeks, and so my guess is a few art house cinemas will still have it on for maybe 1 or 2 more weeks longer.
Just edging into the top 10 on its opening week is number 9, The Gallows,
which is a terrible, terrible film. From what I've been hearing, Jason Blum's new film, The Gift, which is the stalker horror kind of film, that's much better than a lot of stuff that he's been producing this year, because The Gallows is just the scraping of the bottom of the barrel when it comes to what Jason Blum is producing. It's really annoying. I had heart in him with the stuff that he was bringing to screen. Now I've just lost it, because there is no scares in this, and when there is scares, it is the signpost scares. But it's like Paranormal Activity, where the sound's sucked out of it and you start hearing like a fan being turned up, and that's all it is. You know a scare is going to happen, so it's just bad, and it proves that it's bad that it's only gone in at number 9.
Yeah. At number 8, still doing fairly well but not brilliantly, is Magic Mike XXL. Still haven't seen this one myself. Yeah,
it again, like I said last week, it is the first one was a drama with stripping in it. This is a stripping with drama in it. It just doesn't work. The stripping part for females, they will enjoy that bit there, and it'll be like a rowdy night out. But if you're having a rowdy night out, why would you go to the cinema to have a rowdy night out? You would actually go to a strip joint if that was the case. So I just didn't see the point of the film.
At number 7 is Bollywood movie new entry for Bajrangi Bhaijaan, which we don't really comment on because we don't.
Highest grossing Bollywood film of the year, and it's gone up against another Bollywood film in India. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, this made into the US top 10 as well, which is surprising for a Bollywood film.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen that often. Number 6, Terminator Genesis,
which is a bit of a snowfest. I didn't find the film interesting at all. It's not just down to Jai Courtney, even though he is a terrible actor. It is just down to a lot of the film. It just didn't work for me.
I'm going to stick up for the movie a little bit, but not for Jai Courtney, because Jai Courtney is terrible in it. But the film itself, I didn't think it was bad. I actually liked the time travel story and the kind of the reinvention of it, and so I thought it was okay. And I think it's had mixed positive and negative reviews as well, and reaction to it. We won't really discuss number 5, Andrew Rio's 2015 Maastricht concert. It's one of these live performance things. At number 4 is Jurassic World.
We've said absolutely everything we can about Jurassic World, even just in the news stories. I mentioned that the sequel is being greenlit, mentioned the fact that it's the 3rd highest grossing film of all time. There's nothing more we can see about it apart from the film itself. I don't think it deserves all of this 3rd highest grossing film of all time and all that kind of stuff. It's entertaining, but it's not the brilliant standout movie that it looked to be.
Yep. Number 3 is Ted 2.
Which is completely avoidable, to be honest. I really like Ted 1. There's a couple of jokes in Ted 2 which work. For the most part, though, it's just treading the same ground.
Minions is at number 2.
Which is awesome, but not as awesome as Despicable Me 2.
I still haven't seen it yet, and I do want to see it, but I am hearing it's very kind of joke-like compared to the other films. And so it means the new entry at number 1 is Ant-Man.
Yeah, I'm... Again, the comic book naysayer, that is me, When I look at comic book movies, I have major problems with them because I just don't think that they are as interesting as a lot of people make them out to be. Again, this suffers from the Marvel problem with the bad guy. The bad guy is very badly implemented into the film. Michael Pena is probably one of the saviors of the film because his character is probably the most down-to-earth one that's been featured in a Marvel film. And I love the fact that they decide to take that risk, add more a proper human element to the film rather than featuring the main character who is human but got superpowers from a suit that they've created, or they've got superpowers from their father being a god or something like that. This is actual proper humans just in suits that have changed them, or again in Michael Pena's character, a sidekick who's just there for down to earth kind of thing. So that stuff worked. The bad guy didn't work for me, and the middle section didn't work for me.
I'm surprised. I'm going to mention as well. I really did like Ant-Man. I actually want to see it again, but again, time has eluded me as to being able to do it. But it's a thing of that it seems to be doing better in its second week than people expected because of the fact that there wasn't a bigger rush to go and see it, but word of mouth has largely been positive. So it's actually spread interest on the second week, I think, more so than it would have than any other Marvel film. I think it's going to be a film that actually sticks around and doesn't drop as much as, say, for example, Age of Ultron did. Age of Ultron kind of dropped steadily, but it did drop. I think Ant-Man will have a fairly successful second week.
Unfortunately, if you look at where it was, the US box office, in its second week, it dropped 56%. It beat Pixels, but by a very small margin. The margin was less than $100,000. So it is that small between them, and that's not the kind of thing that I'm guessing Marvel would be appreciative of. So normally Marvel films get more than 100 million in their opening weekend, and so they can build on it there. So I'm not sure, because the budget for the film is one of the lowest of Marvel's. It is still pretty high at $160 million. And so for it to make it back, it needs to take more than 300 million worldwide. And I think the film might slightly struggle to get close to that. That's just my opinion, though.
I don't actually have access to the whole list here, because I know you have a list that goes above the top 10. It goes actually further into it. But I'm curious, do you know where Selfless happened to go? Because I was very curious and surprised to see it didn't make into the top 10, considering when I did see it last week, it was a fairly busy showing.
I'm not certain where Selfless made it. If you just give me a second, because you've put me on the spot there, which is fantastic.
The link I have doesn't seem to work for me, so...
Yeah, and the link that I've just had there just didn't want to actually show for me, so that's not very helpful there. I'm going to have to download a PDF with it on, so that might take a couple of seconds. But after the first review that I'm doing, which is Inside Out, I'll let you know where Selfless came, just as a little added adage to it.
Well then, fair enough then. Inside Out, take it away.
Inside Out, it's a Pixar film. It's directed by Pete Docter and Ronaldo del Carmen. So, Selfless came in at number 12. There you go.
12. Okay.
Just to interject there, £215,000 it took in its opening weekend, so it came in at number 12, which is not bad. But yeah, back to Inside Out. It's the latest movie from Pixar. They took a break. Last year they didn't release anything because last year it was supposed to be The Good Dinosaur. However, that was took back to Pixar, took back in-house, and a lot of that movie's been changed. So this year we're getting 2 Pixar films. So we're getting Inside Out, and then we are getting The Good Dinosaur as well. So Inside Out, it centres around the character of Riley, and she's been moved from a hometown by her parents where she's got a load of friends to San Francisco, to sort of like the middle of the city, which when she gets there, she's reluctant. She doesn't like the look of her new life. And evidently, it is the case throughout the film because she starts to become relentless and sort of like downtrodden. However, the film itself becomes very meta because it's not just centered around Riley herself. It centers around the emotions that live inside Riley in the form of joy, fear, anger, disgust, and sadness, and they're voiced by Amy Poehler, Phyllis Smith, Bill Hader, Lewis Black, and Mindy Kaling. And near to the start of the film, we take a journey into Riley's mind, where we get a description of what actually happens in there by Joy. Here's a clip.
Anyway, these are Riley's memories, and they're mostly happy, you'll notice, not to brag. But the really important ones are over here. I don't want to get too technical, but these are called core memories. Each one came from a super important time in Riley's life. Like when she first scored a goal. That was so amazing.
Hey, would you look at that? Very nice.
And each core memory powers a different aspect of Riley's personality. Like Hockey Island. Goofball Island is my personal favorite.
Come back here, you little monkey.
Yep, Goofball is the best.
Now, inside of Riley's mind, with all of these emotions, things start to take a turn for the worse when sadness gets her grubby little mitts onto the console and she causes a little bit of havoc. She starts to interject more sadness into Riley's life. So much so that in the clip there you heard the big main emotions when something important happens in Riley's life. A huge massive area of the inside of her gets created, so Wacky Land or something like that, they start to disintegrate. So it's up to Joy, with the help of sadness, to try and recapture all of those emotions back before Riley falls so much so down into a stupor, she completely forgets who she is. Now, that's the crux of Inside Out. The film itself is probably the most in-depth and deep movie that Pixar, or an animated film that I've seen, has actually created in a very long time. Pixar especially, the last time we've seen emotions like this was from Up, and they haven't done anything like that since. And when it comes to other animated films, yeah, we get characters where it's all about the journey that they go on, but seeing inside them is a different take on it, and Pixar handle it brilliantly. This is Pixar back to their best, because they fell flat with films like Brave. Brave was a bit of a misstep for me when it came to a Pixar movie. The same with Cars. Cars, I think, is one of the worst films that Pixar's ever created, and it felt like Pixar. I do, but it felt like Pixar was losing their grip, and Disney took over from them with things like Wreck-It Ralph. And so they were going push Pixar into third place. Now Pixar is going, you know what? That year that we took time out has really helped us, has really invigorated us. And we've created something like Inside Out. And they've gone to the person who was responsible for reinvigorating them. Because Pete Docter has been the person who's brought a lot of their big franchises to life. He was involved with Toy Story. He was involved with Up. And so he's the person who you need to go to add a bit more oomph back into the studio. And that's what he's done, because Inside Out is a triumph. It's a triumph of difference, because they do attempt something different. And it's joyful, it's happy, it's sad. There are sad moments in the film. The animation is brilliantly handled. The voiceovers is very well handled as well. And there are jokes in it, but there is a lot of human emotion in it as well. And so it feels a lot more like Up than stuff like Brave. And so for me, Inside Out is the best thing that Pixar's made since Up, and probably is up there with some of the best stuff they've ever created. So it's definitely one that needs to be sought out, because it is a fantastic animated film. And like I said a few weeks ago, I'm going to be probably doing the animation category at the end of the year. I'm in for an absolute headache of a choice to try and choose the best animated film, because I've still got, Studio Ghibli mention of the week. I've still got another Studio Ghibli film to review this year when Marnie was there. I've already reviewed one of them. Minions might have a chance. This is a huge, massive chance. Song of the Sea as well. That's up there. And if there's another one gets released animated film-wise, then my head is just going to explode. But definitely seek out Inside Out. You'll not be able to see it in IMAX unless you live in London, because it's exclusive to Empire Leicester Square in London. So they're the only place that has the IMAX version of Inside Out. But still, go to see it no matter what.
I do want to see it. I just haven't had time, and I would have if I could at the weekend. I had a couple to see myself, one of which I'll get through in a second. But the thing I'm really surprised about is that how I've not heard anything negative about this at all from anyone. And a lot of people have seen it, and I haven't heard anything negative about it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, because it is one of those films where there's a lot in there for everybody. There are stuff in there for children, because the characters inside her emotions inside it, you've got disgust, you've got anger, you've got fear, you've got sadness, and so you've got those quirkiness from those characters, yet you've got some proper real life issues interleaved into there. So it's nice to have that kind of thing. It's got a Metascore of 94 out of 100, which is huge.
So it's another one for me to add to my list of things to see that I haven't caught up on yet. And unfortunately, I tried to see Mr. Holmes now. I've missed it. It's out of the local cinemas I can't get to, so I'm going to have to wait till the DVD and Blu Ray.
It should be soon out on Blu Ray and DVD, so I'm actually eager to see what you think of both Inside Out and Mr. Holmes and Minions.
Yeah, I have to try and see that.
You're going to have a very busy end of the year, you.
I am, yeah. But talking of busy end of the year, you're going to be busy trying to see this one, not end of the year, this week, because I know you haven't seen Southpaw, which I have. It is written by Kurt Sutter. It is directed by Anton Fuqua, whose last film, The Equalizer, was not a good film in my standings.
That's a nice way to put it.
I really did not like it because of things that were done to it and the characters and such. Here we have a film which is following the character of Billy Hope, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who at the start of the film is a undisputed lightweight boxing champion. He has a record-winning sort of 43 unbeaten bouts. Everything's sort of going really good for him, although it is showing to sort of have taken a toll on him, with him having won purely through sort of stamina, taking a beating each time before managing to essentially sort of knock out his opponent later in the matches. It's definitely taken a toll on his relationship with his wife, Maureen, played by Rachel McAdams, and with his daughter, Layla, played by Una Lawrence. Things take a turn for the worst when, sort of spoiler, but if you've seen the trailer, a tragedy happens where his wife is killed. Things happen with this through this event. He kind of starts a downward spiral, ends up getting himself in trouble and losing Layla to custody, to child protection services, and finds himself in a situation where he no longer has any money or anything like that, and kind of hits bottom, deciding what he's going to do in order to get himself sorted out. He needs to get some money, he needs to get back to training, he needs to get into things, and manages to find a potential trainer in the owner of a gym, played by Forrest Whitaker, who plays Tick Wills, and things sort of start spiraling from there, building there when he starts to actually then kind of build himself up again, with the potential then of a sort of new challenge coming up, a new fight coming up, through his former agent, played by 50 Cent of all people. Here's a clip.
What's that about?
Title shot in Vegas, 6 weeks.
Really? 6 weeks? You know what that's about, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna sell it like it's a revenge match.
Yeah. I gotta make some money, man. I can't lose my girl.
This man right here, you fell down to the ground, he just stepped right over you. He fixes fights. He's a liar.
Yeah, look, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you. I can't do this without you.
And I can't do this with you.
Why?
I don't train pro fighters.
What, you saying to me that if someone came in and offered the boys a pro shot, you wouldn't give it to him? All I need is 6 weeks. I need 6 weeks. I'll give you my everything. You get my everything. This is about my family. I can't lose my daughter.
So the thing here with, you have a film that is very similar to, sort of references a lot of other films. You've got obviously things like Rocky. You have as well, in essence, sort of a part of it is kind of similar to Warrior, which you and I both really, really liked a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And you have here, though, centered around a brilliant performance, and I hope that he does get at least a nomination for best actor. Although it's not an Oscar film, it is a film that has a performance from Jake Gyllenhaal which is Oscar worthy.
It's sort of like reminds me of Enemy, the Denis Villeneuve film.
I still haven't seen that yet.
It seems to be the year of Jake Gyllenhaal by the sounds of it, from just the tiny little bit there you've said about him in Southpaw.
A couple of years. I mean, Prisoners as well. It was fantastic in that too. And it's the thing of the film is, it's one of those films that the direction is Anton Fuqua, not his best, but it's definitely up there with amongst his best. It's not quite Training Day, but it is competent as Training Day and put together as well as Training Day, and it flows as well as Training Day. It's not amongst his lesser films. It's not it's not his best one, but it's very close. It does all come together, and it really is well done. But the thing is that there is this issue with the pacing slightly as it goes on, where it doesn't know if it wants to be a film about the character of Billy or about the characters around him. It's a kind of a weird thing to say, but because it's very unbalanced in that respect, is that you have scenes where there's sequences with him, and then there's all of a sudden it has sequences with his daughter and people around her and such. So it has a bit of a problem there. But the thing that also stands out for me is I'm a person who listens to film music, and it's kind of a very sort of sore issue with me because the fact of the James Horner, who did pass away earlier this year in an accident. This is one of his last films that he's done the music on, and the thing is, as much as all the way through, I'm a person who, when I watch a film, I listen to the score, I watch out for it, and it's actually a really, really nice score from him, because it's not a typical one. It's not. If I didn't know it was him, I wouldn't have guessed it was him from listening to it. It's very different, and it's very good, and it's very supportive of the film. So I really, really did enjoy it. I had a good time with it. I don't know necessarily that I think it is an Oscar-worthy film, but I think Jake Gyllenhaal's performance is an Oscar-worthy performance. And I'm very curious to see what you think of this, because I think it will be right out there. It's going to be a good double bill film to watch with any of these other boxing films. You've got you've got Rocky, obviously. It definitely harks back to that. Raging Bull, there are connections, but there's not necessarily so many references or anything in that. And obviously Warrior, and even to a lesser degree there's a film which I really, really love by John Singleton, I think it was, which was Play It to the Bone, with Antonio Banderas and Woody Harrelson, which was a very small film. It kind of flopped, but I saw it sometime later and really enjoyed it. It reminded me of that and the spirit of that, so it has good spirit to it. It just, when it comes to it all together, it's slightly lacking something, and I would have said actually could have done with a little bit of trimming, but I really did find myself really, really engaged with it and really caring for this main character of Billy Hope, of Jake Gyllenhaal's character, that I really wanted to see come out on top. So it's a film that it will make you root for the character.
Which it needs to, because if it doesn't do that, then there's something seriously wrong with the film. Because from the sounds of it, it's nice to see Antoine Fuqua back to better standings, because The Equalizer was such a big, huge, massive sidestep from him.
Oh yeah, it was a film that, I mean, it's the fact that even it was a film that took elements from a TV series. You'd never seen a TV series. I had.
I have seen the TV series.
Have you seen it? I don't think you had.
Yeah.
But we both really hated what it did with the film and with the character and such. So, and it was just a horrible and a very too long film as well, because it was over 2.5. It was near 2.5 hours long, I think. This is not that film. This is at no point did I start to think this is getting boring. I can tell you that, even though there's long sequences in it where there's not any action or anything, and then it's a film where you have a big, I mean, it's very typical of the boxing fight movie, where you have the whole load of setup and then you have kind of a half hour at the end which is all about the boxing. So it's not breaking any formulas, it's actually sticking to them, but it's doing them with enough panache that it actually is going, you know what, I'm going to do a classic style boxing film. You're going to sit there, you're going to watch it, and you're going to love it, and it's not wrong.
Okay then. On to the next film then, which is Maggie. It's a very small budget drama movie with hints of horror, because this is a film that centers around mainly the drama of the film rather than concentrating on the horror of the film. It's directed by Henry Hobson, and it stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, who plays Wade Vogel, and his daughter, the title character Maggie, played by Abigail Breslin. And it's set in I wouldn't even say a post-apocalyptic world, a world where a virus is taking over. And it's a virus that turns people into zombie-like creatures, zombie-like people, because it's not the typical zombie virus that we've seen in previous movies where it infects a person and they practically instantly change. This is a virus that latches onto the person and slowly changes them. So they slowly start to forget who they are, who their family is, where they lived, any kind of memories that they have in the past. And so Schwarzenegger plays Wade Vogel, who's out seeking for his daughter. He then ends up discovering his daughter housed in this quarantine area in a hospital. And he wants to take her home because obviously he knows what's wrong with her. He knows that she is changing. And so he wants her to be home with him for her last few weeks on this planet, for her to have pretty much a normal life. And that's not going to be the case, because he has to come to terms with losing his daughter, because he has lost his wife as well. And he's living with a person who he's having a relationship. And she is constantly saying to him that he needs to give up his daughter. He needs to, because it's the last part of his family that he's latched onto. But the longer he waits, the more she'll turn, the more she'll actually forget things, the more she'll forget her father, and that's not something that anybody wants. Here's a clip giving you a feel of what the film's like.
Wait, please. Just call him. It's time now. She has to go in.
What if it was Molly? Bobby.
After everything that we've been through, you still think it's about that? I've loved her like she was my own. She's not her anymore. Wait, please.
So in that clip there, you heard Jolie Richardson, which is the other sort of star of the film. She's not in it that much, but she is the person who's having the relationship with Schwarzenegger's character. And so the film itself, like I said, is more of a drama with the horror elements to it. It especially focuses on the relationship between father and daughter, and how much she is actually losing humanity, the daughter. And there's a fantastically beautiful, poignant scene between Maggie and a boy who she really likes. Now, this boy is also slowly changing, and so they've got very little time with each other. And one night when they're having a camping trip with a couple of other friends around a campfire, because her friends still believe in her, still want to give her her last few days on Earth. They want to make her sure that she actually remembers them. And so they have a conversation with each other, and they end off hitting it off, and they end off having sex. But it's just a nicely played out scene, and that's what the film is like. Don't expect to see people getting their guts ripped out or anything like that, because this is the wrong kind of zombie film. You need to just switch it off straight away. If you want to watch a zombie film with a difference, then this is the movie for you, especially to see how Schwarzenegger handles the drama, because he hasn't been given that much of a chance in the past. And I'm hoping that he tries to attempt to do more of these kind of films, because after the really bad film that is Sabotage, I wanted him to do something different. I've always wanted Schwarzenegger to do something different with his career, because he's always been the person to go to play the dumb action star, not the person to go to play somebody who needs to play a very deep character. That's what he's like in this film, and I think he handles it really well. Abigail Breslin, again, she knocks it out of the park. There was a film that she starred in late last year, directed by Vincenzo Natali, called Haunter, and that didn't do very well at the box office, and it didn't do very well on DVD. It was just thrown out there. She's really good in that movie. She's fantastic in this film, and I really liked Maggie. I was expecting a movie that I might have enjoyed, but not so much. And after I watched it, I thought, actually, this film has surprised me. It's some of the best acting I've seen from Schwarzenegger. It's acting of the top caliber from Abigail Breslin. And it's a very nice shot film. It's very dark and depressing, but that's the whole world that they're trying to show off. That it is sort of like looking on the insides of people, very much like Inside Out. So the inside their body, they are changing, and it is going to a dark and depressive state. And that's what the world has become like. You are losing people, so we weren't supposed to see bright colours and rainbows and all that stuff. We were meant to see dark clouds and broodings. And so everything I think of the film works really well.
I'm curious about it as well, not only for the whole everything else with Abigail Breslin as well, but because of seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger do something different. Because, I mean, I've seen... you see tangents of this in his other things he's done. I think, I mean, as much as it is kind of a dumb action film, there's things like the Final Stand, or Last Stand. Was it Final Stand? I think it's Last Stand. Actually. Yeah, which I really liked as a kind of a modern day western, but it has got a couple of scenes in it where Schwarzenegger is kind of playing the old experienced sort of cowboy who is dreading the fight that's coming because he knows how bad will get. And there's that kind of thing which plays to his, being the action star thing that I thought is kind of good. I'm curious to see though him playing a role where he's, his father grieving for his daughter and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see that as well. I mean, another one again I want to see, but will I have time is the question.
I'll give you a clue on how different this is for an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. He cries in this.
Yeah. Well,
so how many films have you seen Arnold Schwarzenegger actually crying?
Well, actually, I'm pretty sure he did it in, as much as you're probably going to go, oh no, not that film, End of Days. The one where he's got to stop the devil from coming out. I mean, it was 1999, so that's 15 years, literally. But it's the one where there's a scene where he's basically talking with Gabriel Byrne, who plays the devil, and, he's angry because of the fact he's lost years earlier his wife and daughter through an attack, and it's all replays, and he's going through the hell of that. And it's a scene that if you look back at it, you can actually see, Schwarzenegger's actually acting, and he's not just playing up, he's actually doing a fairly decent job in that scene.
But actually crying is the thing that I'm going at. How many films have you seen Schwarzenegger cry? He's got acting credits of more than 50 films, and this is the first time I've actually seen him cry in a movie, and not in a cheesy fashion neither. Because you would expect it to be very forced, but it's real, it's very poignant when he does burst out into tears. And so I thought his performance was really well handled.
Good. I'm another again then I'll have to add to my list of already so many films I need to catch up on.
Yep.
Okay, one that I was looking forward to, so I've seen it to review it this week, is Legend of Barney Thompson. It is a film that is the first time directorial debut of Robery Carlyle, who also acts in the film, plays the main character of Barney. He is a barber who works in this shop, although he is kind of become the lesser of the three barbers that work there, because of the fact he has, as he even says in voiceover at the very start, he has two styles of cut, short back and sides and back and sides. Nobody really wants him to cut their hair. He has no style, he has no sort of relation with people, he's very, very cold, doesn't talk with them, he prefers them not to talk. And this becomes apparent when his boss, who works at who's one of the barbers there as well, tells him that they are basically going to let him go. He's not really particularly happy with this. He doesn't have anything else in his life other than his mother, Semolina, played by Emma Thompson, and it's sort of things not going great for him. And when at the end of the night everyone else has gone for the end of the night, he's begging, asking, "Don't fire me, I need this, is the only thing I've got." He happens to be holding a pair of scissors there, and he and his boss not necessarily get into it, but his boss slips and falls on him and ends up impaling himself on the scissors. Barney, kind of panicking, doesn't know what to do, ends up taking the body, putting it in his car, and going home to his mum to try and figure out what he's going to do with the body. Here's a clip.
What was the name of that loch you, me and my dad went to? Forest on one side and really hard to get to.
What loch?
That one. The one with all the wee boats.
Loch Lubnik.
Loch Lubnik, that's it. Lubnik.
Why the commotion?
Nothing, just that I saw a painting in a charity shop at the Barras the other day, and I just wondered if it was that.
How do you manage to pack so much excitement into one life? Eh? Seeing as you're here, you can give me a lift to the bars. It's my bingo night.
No, I'm sorry, Mum. I can't. I'm actually quite busy.
You maybe didn't hear me. It's my bingo night at the bars!
If you didn't recognise her, that is Emma Thompson there playing Semolina, his mother.
What a name, though, Semolina.
Yeah, it is Glaswegian set, it's Glasgow set, and it's strong accents, sort of Glaswegian accents there. And the thing is that it's a film. I mean, I live near Glasgow now. I saw it actually in the Glasgow cinema, surrounded with a Glasgow audience, and it's the thing of that it plays beautifully to them. She's absolutely perfect. She does a performance that is actually better than his. She is the standout of the film. All the way going through it as well, you have Ray Winston, who's playing a policeman who finds himself in Glasgow, who is investigating a ongoing series of serial killings in which a single body part of missing people is being sent back to the person who is their sort of next of kin, and Barney ends up sort of getting connected in and involved in with that, and he sort of starts making the connections between the murders and Barney, and it's a very, very weird, very dark black comedy, and I thought, where's it going to go? Is it going to go here? And then it kind of really went all over the place and went out there, very, very out there. And the thing is, it played to the audience really well all the way through, even towards the end, where I actually found myself getting a bit kind of, a bit too much out there. It was really sort of about 2/3 of the way through it. It's an hour and a half long film, just over that. And the first hour, I was with it all the way. And then you get to the last half hour, and I thought it kind of started falling apart a little bit, because it feels then as if it's trying to rush things to wrap things up. And it also then has a few things happen which I thought it went a bit really out there, and I was just, not in that I didn't see it coming, but that I saw it coming and I thought, don't do that, are you really going to do that? And it did it. So it kind of lost me towards the end, but it's not a bad film. It's actually really well put together, and especially given that it's a first time direction by Robery Carlyle. I don't know if he might have directed some TV episodes of the shows he's been in, because I think he's been in a couple of American shows now for a few years, and it's his first film that he's directed, definitely, and it's a very well handled direction. It's well put together. The performances are great. As I say, Emma Thompson is absolutely outshines everyone in it. Ray Winston is his usual self in it. He's very good, and Robert Carlyle is very good, even though he's acting and directing. And it definitely does get past the sort of the 6 laugh test easily, especially in the first hour. As it goes on, then you'll maybe either find yourself in the last half hour going tutting at doing that, or actually laughing, because it got some big laughs towards the end as things sort of started trying to wrap up, which didn't quite work for me, but it seems to have worked for the majority of people. So it's a good film. It's enjoyable. It's not my favourite of the two films, but my sort of films I've seen this week, and I suspect from the other two cinema films as you've reviewed them, I haven't seen them yet, I think it would actually be, I know which one I'm going to pick as my favourite, but if I saw all 4 of them, I think I would definitely have a difficulty saying, which of them is my least favourite.
So, see, the problem, from what I'm gathering from what you were saying there, is you said that you went to see it in Glasgow, and so the audience itself is predominantly Glaswegian. Yeah. And so they get that. I'm guessing there's a lot of like Glaswegian-esque jokes in it, a lot of wink-wink, nod-nod humour that only Glaswegian people will get. So how do you think it will actually play to other audiences? So I'm not just actually speaking about people in the UK, because we will be able to understand it. We will be able to go to see it in the cinema and be able to get some of the jokes. So you look at things like Train Spotting, and we were able to watch that film without the need of things like subtitles, however. Yet when it played in different territories, i.e. even including Ireland and the America and Canada, they had to have subtitles with the film. Do you think that it'll find a really difficult audience in anywhere else outside of Scotland?
I don't. I actually think it will be. I think it will not have that problem that things like Trainspotting. They just can actually say that before you mention Trainspotting. It is very balanced in that regard, which is what's done a good job. And even the fact of that you have Winston in there, Ray Winston playing a British. He's not doing a Scottish accent. He's playing a British cop, and who even hates being in Glasgow and absolutely hates it, and makes references to it in that regard, which. I mean, that's the thing. That's probably the only part that there are nudge, nudge, wink, wink in jokes there. The fact of that there's somebody who is from England in Glasgow who's going around absolutely hating it and insulting people and stuff. And that's the only things. And it wasn't actually even him insulting it and people of Glasgow finding it insulting. It was him insulting it and people of Glasgow going, "Yep, sounds about right." So it's those kind of in jokes that. Anyone from outside of Glasgow will probably get them and think, oh, that's a bit strong. But then anyone in Glasgow will think, well, not actually. It's kind of on the nose, but that's funny.
Do you think that'll help it because the fact that it's got some British actors in it, like Robert Carlyle and Emma Thompson, whereas with something like Trainspotting, it was a predominantly Scottish cast directed by a British director?
I don't view it as being any different than Trainspotting in the fact that it's because Trainspotting was a Scottish film. The only thing that was different, Trainspotting was actually a British film. This is more Scottish, but the thing that's different is that everyone in it, the three big actors are big, well-known actors around the world. Robert Carlyle is well known in America because he's been in a lot of television there and in other films and in Trainspotting in particular. But Robert Carlyle back in Trainspotting was relatively unknown. Danny Boyle was, aside from having done Shallow Grave, was relatively unknown for directing. So it's a thing of it's got the potential that there is the audience there. I mean, I saw this. I was surprised when I saw Southpaw and I saw this in the same day. Southpaw was relatively average for the number of people. This was sold out. It was actually a sold out screening, and that's Glasgow, which I get. I don't know if it's going to have that appeal and be sold out, but there are going to be people out there definitely who will see it for Robert Carlyle. There are going to be people out there, especially in London, who will go and see it for Ray Winston, and there's going to be people out there everywhere who will go and see it for Emma Thompson.
Would I be right in saying that if you got the humour of something like Angel Share, you'll actually get the humour of this?
Yeah, you would definitely. It's got. This has got a lot more. I'd say this has got a lot less stereotypical characters, but a lot more realistically stereotypical characters. If you get what I mean. Anyone who lives, you live in Sunderland, so you have the whole thing. There are things that I would probably get that if I saw them in a film about Sunderland.
Our version of that would be Biker Grove the movie.
Yeah, so you'd have people that have the accents and stuff like that, and you have the things, and there'll be things in there that you would find funny, but other people would think it's funny, but is it offensive? And you go, no, it's funny because it's true.
Yeah,
there are similar jokes. There are similar aspects, especially from Ray Winston's character and the things he says that are very much in that vein.
I wouldn't actually say it's funny because it's true. I'll go, it's funny because they're idiots.
Yeah, well, exactly that kind of a thing. So
that is the northeast to a T. They're idiots.
I wouldn't say that about Glaswegians because you probably end up.
You don't want to be headbutted.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into that any further. I'm going to wrap things up here. I'm going to play an ad. Yeah, I'm going to play an ad, and we'll be back. After which we'll go back into the DVD and Blu Ray sections. We'll be back in just a moment.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're into the home release section of the show where we're looking at the selection of films.
We have is it that or is it just Clouds of
Sils
Maria? Clouds of Sils Maria. Wild Card, Miss Meadows, Seventh Son, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It's like I'm reading out a list of things that could be out of order to make a sentence. While We're Young, and Dead Rising, Watchtower. Although I'm not sure where that would go in the sentence.
Right on the footnotes at the end of the book. On top of that, we have our TV Movie of the Week and Movie of the Week. But as we normally do in the home release section, the Blu Ray and DVD top 10. At number 10 is Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, which is really bonkers crazy out there, particularly in the whole thing of science fiction and just weirdness and bizarreness, and the whole thing of genetically engineered people, which are half people, half dog, half people, half bee, or whatever. I like it, but I have to admit it is very much a stretch for people to enjoy, and it's weird, it's out there, but I do admit I do love a big screen action film, which, I mean, you get some of them that are really, really terrible and boring. This is just terrible, but not boring, I didn't think. You're probably going to say it was boring, but I watched it, and I've watched it a couple of times and found myself getting into it.
Yeah, it's boring. At number 9 is Big Hero 6.
Okay, we'll agree on this one then, that we both like it, not as much as I like it, but you like it as well, and it's a good sort of Disney animation, CG animation with great characters, in particular the character of Baymax and the sort of the creation of Baymax, who is a bizarre, lovable robot sort of doctor.
Yeah, sort of like the Marshmallow Man if he was a doctor. And drunk.
Yeah.
At number 8 was last week's number 1, The Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death.
I haven't seen this, but as far as I know, you're saying it's not as good as the first one.
Nowhere near as good as the first one. It's just a rehash of the first one, using pretty much the same sets, but nowhere near as scary or creepy as the first one. At number 7 is Kingsman: The Secret Service,
which I really enjoyed, loved it, great put together spoof of the Bond films, but also it isn't just a spoof, it actually is a good sort of action film, has some really nice sequences, directed by Maggie, and I think does a really good job of putting kind of everything in there you need for it to be a successful Bond niche movie. I think it does have this laddish humour about it, but it's not pretending to be anything else, so it's fine.
And to be honest, I would if a cinema was showing this alongside Spectre, I would gladly walk in and see this again over Spectre, because the trailer for Spectre did absolutely nothing for me. I was not impressed by that new trailer at all. It didn't change my mind about what I thought about Spectre. So
it did look like a big car advert in the middle.
It was just pretty much exactly the same kind of thing that we've seen in every single trailer for Daniel Craig's Bond movies. Let's go dark brooding, that's about it. And number 6 is Chappie.
Which, I mean, we're not going to go into the whole thing of which we think is a better Neil Blomkamp movie, but we both agree that it's District 9.
Yeah.
And I think it's perfectly fine. It is very derivative, I think, of his other films, but I like it more than Elysium because I think it does have more of a point to it than Elysium does, though I do think it struggles as it gets towards the ending.
And I think they should not have cast the Antwoord in the film. I think they should have went with a different duo. Even though the relationship between the Antwoord works, because obviously they're a group, a South African rap group, and they've been together for more than 10 years. I just don't think they suit the film.
Could have had Rita Ora, who was in both Southpaw and this next movie.
At number 5 is 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, which isn't very good. I like the idea behind it. I like what it was trying to do. I think that it's a film which is rated 18 for sex scenes, which are not especially sexy. They are graphic, but they're really unnecessary and actually just drag the film down. It would definitely be a better film if it was cut down and it was a 15 and didn't have the graphic sex in it. If it just had, slight sex in it, not what it's got there. But what it's got there isn't even especially exciting, sexy, or visually worth it for an 18, to be honest. It's the subject and more than the actual what you see.
Yeah, and rumoured to be in the sequel is Henry Cavill.
What? I mean, that's a way to kill your career there. After having struggling moments and then going to be Superman to then do that.
Yeah, Henry Cavill is rumoured to be starring in 50 Shades Darker, which is the sequel to 50 Shades of Grey. Number 4 is Taken 3. Oh, God.
50 Shades of Boring?
No, it's just 3 Shades of Boring because it's bad. Simple as that.
It's just awful. It's horrible. It was edited to get a 12, and then even when it's been released as the uncut version, you can still see it was trying to be a 12 and not do much, and just awful, horrible. It's why take it off. take it off the shelves, but no, not by buying it, just by sending it back to get them destroyed.
And number 3 is the second best exotic Marigold Hotel.
More of the same, but perfectly fine. Nothing special. Maybe be better as a TV movie or a rent. But if you like the first one, there's plenty here to enjoy.
Number 2 is the new entry for The Gunman,
which I really enjoyed. I don't think you've seen this, have you?
Nope.
No, I'm curious to see what you think, because it's a film that has not done very well. I'm glad to see it's finding a following on DVD and Blu Ray, because I think it definitely deserves more. Sean Penn deserves more for it, and it's a film that it's one of those films where you can tell it's based on a novel, and I like that, and I like that it's got the pacing of a novel, and it's got some good action sequences in there, but it doesn't feel like a big massive film. It feels a little indie, and I really like that about it.
And at number 1, this week's highest new entry was Home.
Yeah, not really a surprise, but for me, I keep saying this, but it's the weakest of everything that DreamWorks Animation has done. It has animation which is neither outstanding or fantastic and up to the level of the previous movies, the Kung Fu Panda ones, the Shrek ones, or especially in particular How to Train Your Dragon. The second one of that was, the animation is much better than that, and doesn't have as interesting characters or ideas behind it. It has a couple of nice ideas here and there, but the rest of it just left me feeling empty, and I did not laugh once at the jokes in it. Kids love it. Kids are enjoying it. I mean, it's perfectly fine for an hour and a half for parents to stick on for, instead of having a babysitter for an hour and a half, and they might even sit there with the kids and enjoy it, but I don't think they're going to get anywhere near as much out of it as the kids do.
Before we get on to the first review of the night, one thing I am ecstatically happy about is The Human Centipede 3 only went in at number 92, and it was beaten by movies like Shark Killer, Dolphin Story of a Dreamer, and a movie called Girl House. So it was beaten by that lot there. There's even a TV series which I've never heard of called Metal Hurland Chronicles.
It's because it's actually a TV series that's been edited into a film.
Yeah, that's why
it's
I said
Kelly Brook in it.
It's a TV series I've never ever heard of, yet that beat The Human Centipede Part 3, so well done for people not buying it. Shame on the people who did buy it to get in at number 92, but well done for everybody else not to buy that terrible mess of a movie. I'm not going into rant territory because I didn't have the chance to last week because I had no voice, so we'll leave that for the end of the year.
You should do that at the end of the show.
Not end of year thing.
After, I'm actually thinking we might. I mean, we'll find out when we get to the end of the show if we have time or not. If you stick to the end of the show past the clip at the end, if Stuart is going to have a rant about it, I'll try and convince him. Then it will be on the end of the show.
Not going to happen. Clouds of Sils Maria is the first Blu-ray and DVD that we're looking at this week. It's directed by Olivier Assayas, and it stars Juliette Binoche and Kristen Stewart, and it's a very simple storyline. It centres around the title of Maria, who's played by Juliette Binoche, and she is very famous. She's at the peak of her career. However, during the course of the movie, she seems to be one of these people who is... She comes off as slightly stuck up, yet she's not in a way. It's very strange the way her character is actually displayed through the movie. She's very wary of the roles that she takes, or the actors or actresses who she's actually involved with. And working alongside her is a sort of like second in command, a helper who's played by Kristen Stewart, who plays Valentine. And she's sort of like... She's not the person who goes out, a secretary in a way. She's more like a daughter. She's always alongside her and always doing best for her. And they both have a fantastic relationship. And the movie is just predominantly about the relationship between both those two and how they handle each other, and how Maria is handling fear when things are not actually coming to her anymore. She's not getting the roles that she thinks that she deserves, or she's not getting the spotlight that she thinks that she deserves. Here's a clip which shows you the relationship between both Valentine and Maria.
Joanne Ellis's movie is opening up in Europe. She wants to meet you.
When?
Next week.
Where?
Wherever you want. She'll come here if you'd like.
Definitely not here.
Maybe I'll tell her to book the Vault House.
When is the movie opening?
It opened last week. Have you read a paper lately? Oh, sorry, you want one? It's playing in St. Moritz if you want to see it.
I'd rather wait until rehearsals start and keep the image of Sigrid as myself at 18. I know. It's a little disturbing. I thought I'm more interesting.
Well, I didn't know you at 18, but I'm almost positive Joanne's a lot worse.
How can you be so sure?
Have you Googled her?
Well, I just looked at the pictures.
Well, you should dig a little deeper. Won't take you long to find all the naked photos. The latest updates on her exploits.
Such as?
Her breakup? Andrew Beltram? Any idea who that is?
I don't know. What world do you live in? He's the biggest star. Says who?
Preteens?
Oh.
Hey, there are a shit ton of them, so be careful.
Just to make things worse, though, for Maria, you have an upcoming actress who's played by Chloe Grace Moretz, who's she's the one who seems to be taking the spotlight away from Maria, and it comes a time where they have to come face to face and meet each other and see what is going on. Now, the film itself it's a very long movie. It's a very long movie where very little happens because it's all about character development. So, again, it's one of those movies where if you're expecting big car chase scenes and explosions and all that kind of stuff, you're in the wrong territory here. You're in a movie where it is, like I said, just centres around character, and so it has to be about you latching on with the characters. And again, brilliantly acted by Juliette Binoche, but again, brilliantly acted by Kristen Stewart. And so
did not expect that.
She is actually coming to the forefront now. She is finding her step in the world. She's completely shook off a terribleness of the Twilight era of her acting, and she's showing that she can be a good actress. And well done to her. I'm glad she's proven me wrong. It's nice when that happens, when you really don't like an actress or an actor for the roles that they're choosing, and then all of a sudden they star in a film where they've changed your mind a little bit, and you think to yourself, I really hope this is not a one-off. And sometimes it can be just a one-off. And then Kristen Stewart is the exception. She's proven that she can do brilliantly roles like this, because she was fantastic in Still Alice. And she's fantastic in this, and I definitely want to see Camp X-Ray now, where the other movie, the three films where they were released in America very much alongside each other, and it still hasn't seen the light of day over here, and I'm eager to see it. But Juliette Binoche, again, everything that she does, she turns to gold. She is a sublime actress, and she's fantastic in this movie. And with it being such a long film, and with it all being about character, you need them to be on top of their game, and Chloe Grace Moretz is as well, and just everything about this movie oozes class, oozes just meticulous detail. The director makes sure that the camera is on the actors, instead of being completely just looking over into an area where there might be a squirrel and thinking, ooh, a squirrel, and being distracted by that. He doesn't do that. He goes, actors and actresses, this is what the film is about. Follow their storyline. If you find it boring, then you're not going to enjoy the film. If you find it interesting, you want to follow along with their careers, then you're really going to find it interesting. I liked it. It's a good film.
Really surprised by this. Okay, so let's go to Wild Card, which is written by William Goldman. It's based on a novel written by him, but it's directed by Simon West, who's responsible for things like Con Air in particular, if you're sort of wondering where you've heard that name before. It's a book following a character which has been in a film previously in the 80s, played by Burt Reynolds. This time, instead, the character is played by Jason Statham. You have the character is a man who is in Las Vegas. He's a bodyguard, sort of trained in various skills, but is a little bit of a situation where he's got a bit of a gambling issue. He is sort of stuck in Vegas because he doesn't really have the money to pay off his debts and get out of town and be able to then sort of go somewhere and live a sort of good life. Is sort of always looking out for that one big final sort of win to be able to do that, and ends up sort of getting himself involved with certain different threads that are going on to do with, amongst all other things, a escort who finds herself being beaten up one night and assaulted, and sort of going to him for help. amongst all the other people that were sort of in his life is this character Cyrus, played by Michael Angarano, who's turned up at his door looking to hire him to basically be his guide and his sort of protection around Las Vegas. Here's a clip.
Could you tell me about yourself?
What do you mean? You want my qualifications?
Along those lines.
Along those lines. Well, I've been knocked down, blown up, lied to, on and shot at. So nothing surprises me much anymore, except the things that people do to each other. I'm a licensed pilot. Took karate in Tokyo. Lectured on economics at Yale. I can memorize the front pages of the New York Times in 5 minutes and repeat it back to you in 5 weeks. I was National Golden Gloves champion 3 years in a row. I'm fluent in 4 languages and can wrestle with a menu in 5 more.
Jesus.
And don't interrupt me. There's more.
More?
Yeah. I lie a lot.
So, here's the thing with Wildcard. It's really very below Simon West. It's really very, very below Jason Statham. And I mean that in the fact of that it's a film which has some of the worst dialogue that's been recently. It has not much of a story. It has loads of elements going on that are all trying to make it a story. And the thing is, I mean, we were just talking about it here because Stuart's telling me about his views in the film, which I expect you'll hear in a second. I can't say that I thought it was a terrible, terrible film, but I just found it really humdrum and average. And I mean, in a way, it's terrible in that way. But I mean, I've seen films that I thought were way worse than this. But the thing is, it's just very, really disappointing to see Jason Statham doing a film it's not even a thriller. It's not even an action. It doesn't really know what it is. And that's its problem. You're watching it, you're going, is this a thriller? And then 5 minutes later, you're going, is it an action film? Is it, you don't know? And then you've got a thing going on where you kind of sit there and you go, wait, does this know it's being stupid? Is it meant to be a comedy? And I mean, that's not good. But it's a thing of that it's like it's really got a film where it switches and changes so often. You find yourself going, I don't know what's going on. But again, I've seen films that I just found myself really, really hating more than this.
It has a major identity crisis. There's a character in the film who's played by Milo Ventimiglia. You'll have heard him from Heroes, and that's where he cut his teeth in the acting thing in Heroes. And he plays as I said during the clip was playing to Andrew there, he plays a really spoiled kind of character, and he's meant to be the main bad guy of the movie. And you're thinking he crops up in probably 3 scenes. And during those 3 scenes, he acts like a character who's just throwing his dummy out of a pram. That's all he's in the movie for. And it's a mess of a film. It doesn't know what it wants to try and be like. Whether it wants to be about a drama where it's centered around Jason Statham's character trying to get out of Las Vegas to raise enough money to be able to do that. Or whether it wants to be an action film where he goes up against these guys in a couple of slow motion scenes which is badly implemented. Or whether it wants to be a thriller. It just has no identity. And when it tries to be a drama, it doesn't work because it's so slow. And the story is so weak that it has nothing to play on. When it tries to be a thriller, it's not thrilling enough because none of the characters are interesting enough. And when it tries to be an action movie, the action set pieces are the kind of stuff that we've seen Jason Statham done before. Yet we haven't seen them done in slow motion because they're so distracting when they're done in slow motion. And so it's just a really mess of a movie.
It's a film as well that's surprising how many kind of names in there that I recognise, which when I see them I go, oh, I recognise that person. And I'm like, well, they didn't really have much to do. Stanley Tucci is in the film and has this sort of weird thing going on where he's kind of like a casino manager, but is kind of this nice casino manager where he should be really, really horrible. Jason Alexander pops up. You have Sophie Vergara. You have Anne Heche. Hope Davis. It's kind of almost like a film with cameo of actors given roles just basically so we can go, oh, this person's in the film. They're not an A-list actor for most of them, but they're an actor that they add some kind of weight to it or something like that. But the thing is, actors don't just add weight to it unless they've got parts, which they don't really have.
It's just a misstep and an absolute mess of a film, I felt.
Though not the worst of the evening. We'll get to that in a bit.
Maybes. Up next, Miss Meadows. Very strange movie. It's a dark comedy thriller. It's directed by Karen Lee Hopkins, and it stars Katie Holmes, who plays the title character of the film, Miss Meadows. Now, she's a substitute teacher at this school. However, something might be slightly strange with her. She wears tap shoes all the time. She goes around in a dress, a really nice floral dress. She reads books out in the street and things like that. She's a very sort of like happy-go-lucky Snow White-esque kind of character, and there's a scene that epitomizes the film right at the start of the movie where she's walking along the street reading a book, and all of a sudden a car pulls up and a guy says, "You're pretty, do you fancy a lift?" And she refuses, and he starts to egg her on even more, and then he becomes violent and he pulls a gun out on her. And then all of a sudden she pulls a gun out of her purse and shoots him dead. And so that gives you the tone of the film. And so the rest of the film centers on her character. With her being a substitute teacher, she falls in love with the sheriff of the town where she's living. However, she's trying her best to keep a dark secret back, where she's sort of a vigilante in a way. I think we've got a clip, haven't we?
We don't have a clip for this.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a clip. I was trying my best to find a clip, and I wasn't sure if I actually uploaded a clip for the film, just to give you a sort of like feel of the movie. But it's a really weird movie because, for the most part, very little happens, and then all of a sudden, she flips from being this nice, happy-go-lucky character to somebody who just kills somebody, who's sort of like a vigilante, but not a vigilante who goes sort of like has a split personality where she wears a superhuman costume or something like that. She doesn't do that. She just has this gun with her and shoots them. There is a very strangely, weirdly executed scene in the movie which involves a priest in a very unruly situation regarding him. And when this scene happened, I was aghast by it. It just leaves you speechless for a couple of seconds after it's happened, because it just... You feel, does that scene need to belong into the movie? And that's what the film is like. It's a weird movie, and not a good weird. It's a movie that I found myself bored by it, by the most part. Katie Holmes is okay as Miss Meadows, but because the film itself is trying to be so weird and kooky and strange, it just doesn't work.
Okay, so there's one for me not to put on my list to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One, I'm going to say it. So one that I kind of wish I hadn't seen is Seventh Son. It is a film which is based on I can't remember the name of the novel, but it's something like The Young Assistant or something like that. It is a film that's directed by Sergei Bodrov. It is a film with basically the main character played by Ben Barnes of Tom Ward, who it's a sort of a fantasy film which has him being the seventh son of the seventh son, approached by Master Gregory, played by Jeff Bridges, and basically bought from his parents because of being the seventh son of the seventh son. It's a rule where the Master Gregory, who is a kind of like a magician, sort of kind of monster hunter, is allowed to thereby buy the seventh son of the seventh son and take him to be basically his protege and train him. He ends up sort of bringing him in, taking him in, and trying to train him in order to prepare to take on Mother Malkin, played by Julianne Moore, who is a witch that he had imprisoned many moons earlier, but has now escaped and has the ability to turn herself into, believe it or not, a dragon, and will use sort of a blood moon upcoming to be able to sort of take over and increase her power. And yeah, I mean, you get the idea from that. But the thing about it is, I mean, it's a film where Jeff Bridges is, well, he's talking like he's chewing a mouthful of marbles. Here's a clip.
The Rowan staff, carved by the very first Falcon Knight. Finest fighting staff there is. Master it, and you can master any weapon. Show me what you are! I paid good money for you. I think your father deceived me of your worth. Are you not the seventh son of a seventh son? You ought to be 7 times as strong as the normal man. Your ma'am, She did not put up much of a fight to keep you, did she? You are worthless. There's not enough time. You'll be dead in a week. Good aim.
I was aiming for your head.
Missed.
So it's a film that is a big effects thing, but it is awfully edited, awfully directed, awfully boring, awful dialogue, as you heard in that scene. But that's not the worst of it. It actually has some real cringy moments, and it has, not amongst even out of Jeff Bridges, a great performance, and Julianne Moore is the best thing in it. But even Julianne Moore can't save it because it's just a complete mess. It's a film, it's very much like these kind of fantasy films where they don't know what they're doing, they don't really know how to make it into a successful action scenes or story or characters. And I mean, the thing is, it's not the worst film we've ever seen, but it's pretty damn close. It's got no magic to it. At times I was reminded, just honestly, of how much I really enjoyed the 47 Ronin, the one with Keanu Reeves recently, over this, and that's a terrible film, but it's an entertaining terrible film. This is just absolute trash, horrible disaster movie making. It's a complete and utter mess.
And it is the problem that I've been having with these kind of films, because they're high fantasy movies and they're trying to be more of an updated version of the Ray Harryhausen stuff back from the 70s, and none of them have actually succeeded in that stuff. It's Japanese and Chinese culture which is really difficult to bring to screen. If you're an American, if you're Chinese and Japanese, you know how to actually handle that kind of stuff. And so just leave it to them, rather than get an American studio to make a over-the-top CGI bore-fest.
The thing is, well, you got in the mix there, you have as well Alicia Vikander, who plays this half-witch, who is a kind of a potential romantic character for Ben Barnes' character, and she literally stands there, and you kind of sit there watching, going, well, what's going on here? It's completely, there's no relation, there's no chemistry. There's a scene where basically they touch hands and there's this spark, and she tells this whole story about when a witch touches a man and there's this spark, she's going to meet the man who she'll marry, and it's like 5 seconds later he's kind of like, okay, yeah, what then? And he just it just honestly doesn't bode well from there onwards, and that's about 20 minutes into the film.
Because he turned around and said that, by the way, it's not a spark, it's just me trying to get this lighter to work.
I mean, that would have at least been something, isn't it? It just it's literally like he stands there like, kind of like, what? It's almost like he's going there and goes, I don't remember that in the script. When was that line in the script? I don't remember signing on for this. Jeff Bridges at least looks there going, I signed on for this. It's trash, but I'm getting paid well.
Yeah, he's going, I'm eating good tonight. I'm having lobster instead of McDonald's.
Yeah, sorry. Jeff Bridges goes, it's trash, but I'm getting paid well. No.
Tumbleweeds.
Okay, let's go.
I really need a sound effects board or something like that for when things like this happen, just to, yeah.
We need to work on it, actually. I was going to try and do something like that, but I couldn't get it working.
Okay, then. During that clip, by the way, I said, oh gosh, the reason why I said, oh gosh, is that Mila Jovovich is going to be playing Pippi Longstocking in a film.
Pass.
Yeah. A girl walked home alone tonight. It's an Iranian vampire film. We'll get through these last couple of films quite quickly because they're only small films anyway. I reviewed this about a month ago in the cinema. It was only a small release that it got. Home release. It's directed by Annie Lily Amirpour, and it's set in a place called Bad City, and it centres around a female character. She's a very lonely, dark-figured character who lives in this downtrodden city, like I said, called Bad City. It's a bit of a wasteland. It's a vast wasteland. You've only got small little buildings scattered around there. And it centres around this girl who hangs around at night and what happens when she befriends a guy in this city and he starts to fall in love with her. And it's just a love story told in black and white in Iranian with vampire undercurrents to it. And it's actually really well laid out. It's sort of like Maggie is a drama where it just features elements of horror with zombies. This is a drama that features some elements of vampirism in it, but it doesn't heavily focus on the vampire characters of the film itself. It focuses on the downtrodden lives that these people are living in this dilapidated area that is Bad City, and so it works better as a drama than it does as a vampire film. But because the fact that the film itself is very stylized, it's black and white, there's very little dialogue in the movie as well. It's all focusing on this very mystical kind of character, and so I think the film itself is really interesting. It will not be to everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people will just think that this is an art movie and with no interest behind it. But if you can latch yourself onto the film, I think there is a lot to find in this one, and especially Annie Lillian Amapour. She's looking to expand her horizons with her next movie, which features Jim Carrey in playing a redneck cannibal. So we'll see how that turns out. Ryan Reynolds is going to be in that movie as well. So Ryan Reynolds and Jim Carrey in a redneck cannibal drama horror comedy movie. Good luck to her.
I'm actually quite interested in the sound of that. Okay, While We're Young, which is a movie written and directed by Noah Baumbach. It is a drama which follows the couple Josh and Cornelia, played by Ben Stiller and Naomi Watts. They're a couple that live in New York. They're kind of feeling a bit out of things because of the fact that all their friends are now married and having kids or things like that. Two of them are there together. They haven't decided really on going ahead with that. He is a sort of former director of a documentary. He's trying to make a new sort of documentary film, but is not really getting anywhere. Kind of having a not necessarily writer's block, but director's block and ideas, and struggling with things, and this cut of a film he's trying to put together. And things sort of start to get more interesting for the two of them when he bumps into this couple and meets this younger couple played by Adam Driver and Amanda Seyfried, who are sort of very much in love, very much kind of remind them of how they were a bit when they were younger, but are very kind of much free spirit and very different in the world things are today. And it kind of sort of starts to reinvigorate their life of them being sort of more mature and hanging out with this younger couple, as they kind of find when they meet and talk with a couple of their older friends, more their age, who are now married and with a kid, as you hear in this clip.
We're the boring couple with a baby. What have you guys been doing? Tell us something fun.
Oh, we met this interesting couple, Jamie and Darby. He's a young documentarian, and she makes ice cream.
I don't know what to make of them, honestly. I like her.
They make everything. It's infectious. For about 12 hours, I thought I could build my own desk.
There's something about being around them that energizes you, you know?
How old are they?
25, 26.
26, 27.
They're children.
Yeah, 9 years ago they couldn't vote.
But they're married.
Why? You should see this guy's record collection. It's Jay-Z, it's Thin Lizzy, it's Mozart. His taste is democratic. It's The Goonies and it's Citizen Kane. They don't distinguish between high and low. It's wonderful.
When did The Goonies become a good movie?
And that scene there, I mean, very much that very line at the end there, when did The Goonies become a good movie? It's kind of a thing that shows, for me, and I think for a lot of people, how this movie's kind of out of touch with a lot of things. Because the thing is, it's not quite as much as I don't really like his stuff, but it makes me think of Woody Allen's films. Yeah, and the thing is, though, that it's these characters that it's not just, the interesting thing about it is that it starts getting these characters thinking about their lives and where they want to be, and thinking, you know, was I like that, and why am I not like that, sort of a thing. Looking back at this younger couple, and Ben Stiller's character even sort of becomes paranoid of the fact of that why Adam Driver's character is found him, considering that Adam Driver is very much interested in his film and that he's done previously, and starts kind of sort of getting into his life a bit, and that kind of stuff seems fine, but then it has all these references to more mature audiences. I mean, as someone who is in my mid to late 30s, I I found myself... I'd seen this at the cinema and I've seen it again recently and found myself feeling very much like it's a film that I should have had much more of a connection with the characters, and yet there's times where they could not have seemed farther apart from me, farther different from me, that I kind of sitting there going, really? And that is one of the scenes in particular when someone says that and you're just like, you know, there's films where you watch a film and you go, you know what, this film gets me, the characters get me. And this film, there's moments where I go, you know what, these characters are sort of interesting to me. I'm starting to get them. And then there's films like where I just go, what? Very out of left field, kind of jumps out and you go, wait a minute, how? What? How do you come to that? How did you make that decision? And I found it very disjointed in that way on the second viewing. I found it very much that I didn't enjoy it as much as I did around the first time. I did think it had this reality to it, this of not of the dialogue, but of the way it's shot with the characters and the actors just sort of walking in some scenes and talking, and the flow felt good, but the words didn't match up with it, is the thing. So it's like listening to a piece of music and you go, I like the tone, I like the music, I like the way it's making me feel, but then I hear this line of dialogue, this line of, you know, in the song of lyrics, and I go, what the hell?
So it's like listening to classical music and then all of a sudden you hear a duck quack.
Not that I've ever heard that, but yes, very disjointed in that way, I guess. I do not know how you came up with that, but kind of yes. And that's the problem. I think that it's a film that somebody has had an idea, they've thought, okay, this is good. I'm kind of curious to see the age of the director who wrote and directed it. I mean, he was born in 69, so he's in his 1969, so he's in his 50s. And that's just, I mean, it feels like he wants to write it for the younger audience that he thinks it's that whole thing of adults writing for kids, where you have someone who's more mature writing for adults, and he doesn't know how to make it sound right. So there may be a film that older audiences, more mature audiences will connect with it more because it maybe has their view of how someone in their 30s talks and is like, or someone in their 20s. But for me, maybe I'm a bit more closer to that age, that I find it very, very much not ringing true with that age, that era as I see it and as I know it.
By the way, your master's bad. He's in his 40s. It'll be 46.
40. Sorry, yes, 46. So still, I mean, a decade on me.
And nearly me. That's making me feel really old now. Cheers for that. Can I go to Dead Rising Watchtower then to sort of like make myself feel slightly more younger, go to the video game generation? So yeah, it's making me feel ancient. I hate you. But Dead Rising Watchtower is the final film of the night, directed by Zach Lipovsky. It was actually shown as it was created by Crackle, the outfit that's owned by Sony, but it got a really weird distribution. Sony owned Crackle, yet the film itself was exclusively only shown on the Xbox console in America, which it's just weird that. But yeah, it's set between Dead Rising, the video game 2, and Dead Rising 3, and it follows the story of a reporter, Chase Carter, who's played by Jesse Metcalf. He's in the city. It's not Willamette, which is the city that's featured in the first one, but it's very similar to that, and it centers around him, who's in a walled-off city itself. The government who's running it all is called FESA, Federal Emergency Zombie Authority, and he needs to try and survive along with some of the only human survivors inside that. But I think the film itself has got more in common with Dead Rising 3 than Dead Rising 2, only because the fact that with Dead Rising 2 you've got the character Frank West, who's in this movie is played by Rob Riggle, and during this clip here he's involved with an interview where he's given a few rules on the best way to survive.
Okay, I was expecting sort of more on that.
No clip. There is a clip.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I do. For some reason, I did not have this. My apologies.
Genius of play there.
Frank, what advice do you have for those trapped inside the quarantine zone?
Turn off your televisions. Put down your phones and run for your goddamn life.
Run where? The quarantine is sealed. There's nowhere to go. What the hell are you talking about?
Fine. Let me tell you something. Read my book.
Oh, Jesus.
Chapter 5, I specifically tell you, you can't worry about technicalities, okay? Screw the rules. You got to improvise. Think on your feet. Use what you can. When you can, where you can. Maybe they shoot you down like a dog. Maybe they don't. But I'll tell you one thing. Talking to us ain't going to help you at all.
Now,
okay, that clip didn't help me much either.
Yeah, the film itself is pretty much bad. It's not rubbish. It's not... When Dead Rising 3 came out, before Dead Rising 3 came out, after Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 2 on the record came out, there was the creator of the games decided to create a sort of like a webisode series relating to Dead Rising. And that was really badly handled. This one, what Crackle has done is, you can see that their budget is very small. And their intentions is to try and tie this movie more into the third game. The problem with the third game is it's exclusive to the Xbox One, and the game itself is pretty average, and so it's not a good idea to try and make a film based on a video game that's average. And unfortunately, the movie just misses a lot of the sort of like humor of, and mainly the humor of the Dead Rising 1 and 2. They brought Frank West's character into the fold, and Rod Briggle does really well as Frank West. He encapsulates the character really well because he's a very sarcastic character in the game. It's just the rest of the film is not handled well at all. When you come across in the third game, you've got these sort of like these guys who were out to kill just anybody. They're raiding shops and all that kind of stuff. When you come across the psychos in this movie, they're not psychotic enough. So, my cough is coming back, which is brilliant. But yeah, the film itself is it's just a misstep. It's not very good at all. You can see the reason why it went to a streaming site like Crackle rather than get a proper theatrical release, because it's not entertaining enough. It could have worked if it realised it needed to be a cheesy horror film with comedy elements to it. It just doesn't embrace any of that stuff, which is just annoying. Right, that's it for this week's new releases. TV movie of the week. Movies of the week.
Shall I do mine first? I've got 4 actually, although a couple of them on the same night, a couple of them on 2 on the same night, sort of back to back.
I've got a feeling one of them you've got, which is the same as mine.
Right. Well, mine, I've got 2 on Friday and 2 on Saturday.
I've got 1 on Saturday and 1 on Friday. Oh God.
Right. Right. I'll do 9 o'clock then on Friday, and the thing is, both of them are 9 o'clock on Friday. 2 films.
Oh, I'm safe.
Okay. One is on Film 4, and it's X-Men First Class.
Yep.
The other one is on More 4, and it's The King's Speech. 9 o'clock, Friday 31st.
Completely different polar opposite films and really difficult to choose from. So if you're in a pawn shop for like superhero kind of things, it's X-Men. And if you want something that's drama, it's The King's Speech.
Yeah, but both very, very good sort of ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
On the Saturday, not at the same time, actually back to back, both on Film 4, 9 o'clock. I bet this is the one you got. Chronicle.
Nope.
And then at 10:50 p.m. after it, Dread.
That's one of the ones that I've got. Dread on Film 4, Saturday the 2nd of August at 10:40.
Such a fantastic. And out of all of those films, actually, I'm saying if you're going to see one of them, Dread is the one to see.
Yeah, and brilliant choice to go with Dread. The other one that I've got is on BBC 2 on Friday the 1st of August at 11:35. The fantastic but really depressing The Road.
Not the 31st of July.
Yeah, it is 31st of July. Sorry, yeah. So it is 31st of July. Then I kept thinking that July's only got 30 days, but it's The Road.
Which I really didn't like.
And I really, really liked. It's a fantastic film. It's a really depressing movie. It's a very dark movie. It stars Viggo Mortensen and Charlize Theron and Cody Smith-McPhee. But it's brilliantly acted by both Viggo Mortensen and Cody Smith-McPhee. Even though the movie itself is depressing, there are times in the movie where you've got a ray of hope. There is a scene where they find this abandoned bunker. and it's just laden out with food and beds and all that kind of stuff. And they know where the line is to be drawn. They know that this is not the place for them to stop, and they still need to continue on with the trek that they're doing. But it's a hard film to watch. It's not one of those movies where you go, oh, there's a really depressing movie on, I've got to watch that. It's not that kind of film. But I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic film.
Yeah, I didn't. I just found it. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't in the mood. But I just found it very droll and not. It didn't connect with me. I think maybe for that reason.
And this is a rare occasion where you're completely wrong, and I completely disagree with you. Rare occasion? No.
Rare occasion. Yeah. You said it now.
But it's not. It's the opposite way around, where I like the film and you don't. It's not me not liking the film and you loving it. So yeah, movie of the week then. What's your overall movie of the week?
Well, it's gonna be Southpaw, because it's a great sort of film that manages to get everything sort of together and almost really, really good, perfect role that has little nigglings, but out of that and Legend of Barney Thompson, which just didn't hit me, just didn't sit with me well towards the end. Although I kind of feel like I'm not doing justice to Legend of Barney Thompson because it is a good film, but it just, out of those two, Southpaw.
And I know
it's going to be Inside Out for you.
I've got a hard choice between Inside Out and Maggie. Because Inside Out is a brilliantly animated film from a studio that we expect brilliance. Yet Maggie is a different film to see Arnold Schwarzenegger in. And so I want people to go and see Maggie because of Schwarzenegger.
I'm really curious to see what you think of both Southpaw, because I know you really want to see that, but I would love to see what you think of The Legend of Barney Thompson, because it's that very dark kind of film and comedic kind of film that I think you might actually really enjoy it.
The only problem I have with that is nowhere showing it close to me, so I can't see it.
It does have a bit of a limited release, especially in Scotland. It's where it got obviously it's a Scottish film, but everywhere else it's a bit harder to see.
So I would say for me, it'd be Inside Out if you want to take your family along to see something new. But if you want to go along, because Maggie is a 15 rated film, if you want to go along to see how Schwarzenegger handles a movie that's not action, then I would say Maggie. So it's a tie for me this week between Inside Out and Maggie. But that's it for this week's show. Make sure you visit the website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can also leave us feedback on Twitter at Monday Movie Show, on Facebook at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. You can also email us, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com, or give us some feedback on Spreaker in the live chat. In the live chat or in the chat itself. We check it every now and again. You can also leave comments. Not sure on Android podcast feeds. I don't think you can leave comments there, but you can leave comments on iTunes or on YouTube. A few places to check out: from page2screen.com. You've also got followingthenerd.com, which is the site where box office top 10s and our show goes up on there. And a bit of a shout out, I did a from page 2 screen last night and with Stuart and Lauren, and we spoke to the directors of an upcoming film called Cicada the Movie. They're holding an Indiegogo campaign. They've got 8 days left, and if you can just donate anything towards that movie, it's a very low budget B-movie horror film, but if you can donate anything towards that, then please do so. Go follow them on Twitter. That's Cicada, Cicada, the movie, all one word, on Twitter, and see if you can support them, because they are a fantastic bunch of people, and I've supported them, and that's the first time I've ever actually donated any money to an Indiegogo/Kickstarter campaign. So I'm hoping the film gets made, and it's sort of like the little part of my heart that I keep locked away, but every now and again it decides to rear its ugly head, the cheesy horror film part. And I love those kind of films. I know, I have a heart, surprisingly.
This is one of those things where I need the sound eclipse thing, and it'll be like just an audience going, "Oh."
And on that brilliant note, we'll end the show there. We've got a clip for a movie that's coming out in, I think, 2 weeks' time called Vacation. It's part of the National Lampoon's one, but I think over here it's just going to be called Vacation, unless it has got the National Lampoon's modicum attached to it.
I don't think it has, no. I think it's just Vacation for some reason.
But that's out in a couple of weeks' time. Ed Helms is the lead actor who's in this version of it. And so we'll leave you with a clip of that. We will be back sometime in the next 6 or 7 days, whether it be next Monday or Tuesday or Sunday. We'll let you know on the website anyway. Hopefully it will be next Monday with a review of one of the big films of this year.
Yeah, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Yep. So we'll have a review of that on next week's show. So until next week, goodbye.
Bye.
I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. I can't believe no one in this family wants to sing Jared Fields, yeah, Batman Forever. That's your roses in bloom. Val Kilmer, I hates the gloom on the grave.
He's come back to kill us. You gotta go faster, Dad, go faster!
The printer doesn't go any faster!
Okay, well, what are we gonna do?
I have an idea.
What?
Handbrake turn. What? I pull the wheel to the left, yank the handbrake, we do a 180, cross the median, drive right past it.
You know how to do that, Dad?
If Vin Diesel can do it, so can I.
Why are you as good as Vin Diesel?
Hang on!